FInnegans Wake. River run, past even atoms, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to Hoth Castle and environs. Sir Tristram, violet d'amour, fro over the short sea, had Passencourt re-arrived from North Armorica, on this side the scraggy isthmus of Europe Minor, to wielder fight his peninsulate war. Nor had Topsawyer's rocks by the stream Oconee exaggerated themselves to Lawrence County's Giorgios, while they went doubling their mumper all the time. Nor a voice from afire bellows, Misha, Misha, to Toff, Toff, thou art Patrick. Not yet, though very soon after, had a kid's cad but ended a bland old Isaac. Not yet, though all's fair in vanity, were Sosie Sester's wroth with 2-1 Nathan Joe. Wrought a peck of Paul's malt had Jem or Shen brewed by arclight, and Rory End to the Reagan brow was to be seen ringsome on the aqua face. The fall, ba 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 dalgara tak braka kamana ran con bron toner ran tuan thon truar wan scan tuord and thurnuk of a once Wall Street old par is retailed early in bed and later on life, down through all Christian minstrelsy. The great fall of the off-wall entailed at such short notice the shoot of Finnegan, Earth's solid man, that the humpty hill-head of himself promptly sends an unquiring one well to the west in quest of his tum-ti-tum toes, and their upturned pike point and place is at the knockout in the park, where oranges have been laid to rust upon the green since Devlin's first loved Livy. What clashes here of wills 'gain wants? Oystery gods gag and fishy gods. Quack, 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 walla, 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 where the battle area's partisans are still out to Master Malachus McRains and the Verdants catapulting the camel ballistics out of the white voice of Hoodyhead. Asiagates and boomerang strums, sod brood be me fear. Send glory and save, arms appeal with larms appalling. Killy, kill, killy, atall, atall. What chance, cuddlies, what cachos aired and ventilated, what bid me to love seduced by what to go to solvers, what true feeling for there's hair, with what strawing voice of false Jacob. Oh, hear, how Hoth sprawled met the dusk, the father of fornicationists. But, oh, my shining stars and body, how hath faint Spained most high heaven the sky sign of soft advertisement? But is it, ere were sewers? The oaks of Ald, now they lie in peat, yet elms leap where asks lay. Fall if you but will, rise you must. And none so soon either shall the farce for the nonce come to a set down secular fiendish. Big Mr. Finnegan, of the stuttering hand, freeman's morer, lived in the broadest way unmarginable in his rushlet too far back from messages, before Joshua and Judges had given us numbers, or Helveticus committed Deuteronomy. One yeasty day he sternly struck his tet in a tub for to watch the future of his fates, but ere he swiftly struck it out again by the might of Moses, the very water was evaporated, and all the Guinnesses had met their exodus. So that ought to show you what a pension Jewish chap he was. And during Marty odd years, this man of hod, cement, and edifices in Topersthorpe piled bildung supra bildung upon the banks for the livers of the sowing-so. He had a little fifey, Annie, ugged the little crater. With her hair in bonds, tuck up your part in her, oft while balbulous, Mithra head, with goodly trowel and grasp, and ivor-oiled overalls, which he habitually fancied. Like Haroun Childeric Egbert, he would caligulate by multiplicables, the altitude and multitude, until he seesaw by neat light of the liquor where twin 'twas born, his roundhead staple of other days, to rise in undress masonry upstanded, joy granted, a well worth of a skyscrape, of most oiful hoith and towerly, originating from next to nothing and celestialating the himmels and all, higher architect top loftical, with a burning bush a bob off its bauble top, and with lairns o'toolers clittering up, and tumbles of buckets clattering down. Of the first was he to bear arms and a name, Wassaili Booslaw of Riesengeborg, his crest of heraldry and vert with ancillars, troublant, argent, he-goke, pursuivant, horrid, horned, his scutcheon fest with archers strung, helio of the second, hooch is for husbandman handling his ho, 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 Mr. Finn, you're going to be Mr. Finnegan. Come day morning and o'er your vine, Sunday's eve and your vinegar. Ha, 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 Mr. Fun, you're going to be fined again. What then, agent-like, brought about that tragedy thunders day, this municipal sin business? Our cube house still rocks as ear witness to the thunder of his Araphatus, but we hear also through successive ages that Shebi chorish of ancalified muzzle missile hams that would blackardize the white stone ever turtled out of heaven. Stay us wherefore in our search for righteousness, O sustainer, what time we rise, and when we take up to toothmick, and before we lump down upon our leather bed, and in the night and at the fading of the stars. For a nod to the neighbor is better than a wink to the wabsanti. Other ways like that provost scoffing between the Jebel and the Joysian Sea, crop herb the crunch bracken shall decide. Then we'll know if the feast is a fly day. She has a gift of seek on sight, and she all casually answers helpers, the dreamy dearie. Heed, heed, it may have been a misfired brick, as some say, or it mought have been due to a collapsus of his back promises, as others looked at it. There extant by now 1,001 stories, all told, of the same. But so sore did Abe eat Evie's hollerate apples, what with the Walhall's horrors of Rolls-Royce, car hacks, stone engines, kisty bangs, tram trees, Fargo ballers, auto kinetons, hippo hobblies, street fleets, Turnin taxes, megafog, circuses, and wards moats and basil kirks, and aeropagods, and the hoys, and the jolly brule, and the peeler in the coat, and the Mecklenburg bitch bited his ear, and the Merlinboro burrocks, and his 4 old porcourts, the bore the more, and his light black working stacks at 12 pins a dozen, and the newbie buses slading along Safety First Street, and the dairy jellybees snooping around Tell No Taylor's corner, and the fumes, and the hopes, and the struppeth hump of his ville's indigenous Rome keepers, home sweepers, dome creepers, Thurum and fancy mud murramed, and all the uproar from all the off-roofs, a roof for May and a reef for Hugh, but under his bridge suits Tony. One warning, Phil felt tippling full, his hout felt heavy, his hoddet did shake. There was a wall, of course, in erection. Dim, he stuttered from the ladder. Damn, he was dumb. Master Batum, Master Bad Tom, when a man marries his lute is all long, for whole the world to see. Shizzy? I should she. McCool, or why did you die of a trying Thursday morning? Sobs they cited at FInnegans Wake, all the hooligans of the nation prostrated in their consternation and their duodismally profusive plethora of ululation. There was plums and grooms and cherubs, and citherlers and raiders and cinnamon too, and they all joined in with the shoutmost joviality, Agog and Magog and the round of them agrog, to the continuation of that celebration until Hannon Hunnigan's extermination. Summon Kinkin chorus, more can keening, belling him up and filling him down. He's stiff, but he's steady, is Priam Olam. 'Twas he was a decent grey labouring youth. Sharpen his pillow scone, tap up his beer. Ere aware in this whirl will you hear such a din again, with their deep brow fundigs and the dusty fidelios. They laid him broad dawn alangst the bed, with a bocalypse of finnisky for his feet, and a barrel load of Guinnesses o'er his head. Tea the tootle of the flute, hang the twaddle of the fuddle. Oh, hurrah, there is but young glee for the owl globe wheels in view, which is tautologically the same thing. Well, him being a so on the flounder of his bulk like an overgrown babeling, let we peep, see at hum. Well, see PG he ought, platter plate. Hum. From Shopolis to Bailiwick, or from Ashton to Baranoth, or from Bury the Banks to Round the Head, or from the foot of the bill to Ireglant's eye, he calmly extends lees. And all the way, a horn from fjord to fell, his bay winds obobo shall wail him rockbound. Ho, 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 and swim, swam, swum. And all the livelong night, the dale dalpling night, the night of bluery bells, her flit a flute and tricky trochies. Oh, Carina, wake him, with her Issavan and her patter Jack Martins about all them inns and houses, tilling a teal of a tum, telling a toll of a teary, turty tobbling, grace before glutton, for what we are gives a gross if we are about to believe. So pull the bag and pass the kish for cross sake, all men, so sigh us. Grandpapas has fallen down, but Grinny spreads the board, weighs on the joint of a dish, fin fo fum the fush, weighs be his bacon head, a loaf of Sing Pantry's Kennedy bread, and weighs hitched to the hop in his tail, a glass of Danu Donald's famous old Dublin ale. But lo, as you would quaff off his fraud stuff and sink teeth through that pith of flower-white body, behold of him as behemoth, for he is no mo. Finish, only a photograph of a yestern scene, almost Rubicon Salmo's sailor, ancient from out the ages of the age Epimenides, he is smolten in our midst, woe becanned and packed away. So that mail's dead off for summon, schluck, slice, and good riddering. Yet may we not see still the Brontuchthian form outlined aslumbered, even in our own nighttime, by the sedge of the troutling stream that Bronto loved and Bronto has a lien on. Hic cubat edilis, apud libertinam parvulam. What if she be in flags or flitters, reeky rags or Sunday chosies, with a mint of minds or beggar a pennyweight? Hurrah, sure, we all love little Annie Rooney, or we mean to say, love little Annie Rainey, when under her brella, middle piddle, med puddle, she nanny goes nancing by. Yo, Brunt alone slaps, yo, snores. Upon Ben Heather, and Seeple is it too. The cranic head on him, caster of his reasons, peer Yothner in yon mist. Hooth, his clay feet, swarded in verdigras, stuck up stark where he last fell on him, by the mund of the magazine wall, where a Maggie seen all with her sister and shawl. Well, over against this Bell's alliance beyond ill 60, all allowed ill, bagsides of the fort, bomb, terra bomb, lurk the orm bushes, the site of the lifting and weight of the upjock and hockums. Hence, when the clouds roll by, Jamie, a proud's eye view is enjoyable of our moundings mass, now Wallenstone National Museum. Within some greenish distance, the charmful Waterloose country, and the two quite white villagettes who here show of themselves so gigglesomes mixed the folly ages, the pretty lees. Penetrators are permitted into the museum mound free. Welsh and the Paddy Patkinses, 1 shilling. Regis members, invalids of old guard, find pussy pram to sate the sort of their butt. For her passkey, supply to the janitrix, the mistress Kate, tip. This the way to the museum. Mount your hats going in. Now yes are in the Willingdon Museum. This is a Prussian gun. This is a French. Tip. This is the flag of the Prussians, the cap and sword, sir. This is the bullet that bing the flag of the Prussians. This is the French that fire and the bull that bang the flag of the Prussians. Salute the cross gun, up with your pike and fork, tip, bull's foot, fine. This is the 111 hat of Napoleon, tip, Napoleon hat. This is the Willingdon on his same white horse, the Cokenhape. This is the big slaughter Willingdon, grand and magentic in his gold-tin spurs and his iron ducks and his quarter-brass woody shoes and his magnet garters and his Bangkok's best and gold-ears galoshes and his pull-upon easy on war-trews. This is his big white horse. Tip. This is a 3 Napoleon Boyne crouching down in the living ditch. This is an Innimisskilling English. This is a Scotcher Grey. This is a Davy, stooping. This is the big Napoleon, murdering the Napoleon beg, a Gallagher's argument. This is the petty Napoleon boy that was neither bag nor bug. I say, touch old Fitz Tuamush, Dirty McDyke and Harry O'Hurry, all of them harmonious varminous. This is Delian Alps. This is Mount Tibble. This is Mount Tipsy. This is the Grand Mun's Injun. This is the Crimelian of the Alps, whooping to shelter shock the 3 Napoleons. This is the Ginnies with their leghorns fainting to read in their handmaid's book of astrology, while making their war on the sides of Willingdon. The Ginnies is a coo in her hand, and the Ginnies is a rave in her hair, and the Wallington get the band up. This is big Willingdon, memorial telescope wonder worker. Upsides on the flanks of the Ginnies. Sex caliber, horsepower. Tip. This is me Belcham sneaking his Philippi out of his most awful grimace sun's hat Cromwelly, looted. This is the Ginnies Hastings dispatch for to irrigate the Willingdon, dispatch in thin red lines across the short front of the Belcham. Ja. Leaper Arthur, fair seeking, field gaze thy tiny frau. Hug acting, nap. That was the tic-tacs of the Ginnies for to Fontenoy the Willingdon. She. The Ginnies is Gillis, agent courting all the Napoleons. And the Napoleons is gone boycotting crazy into the one Willingdon. And the Willingdon get the band up. This is Bode Belcham, bonnet to Busby, breaking his secret word with a ball up his ear to the Willingdon. This is a Willingdon's her old dispatch back, dispatch deployed on the regions rare of me Belcham. Salamangra, ay, cherry, Ginnies, fig tree you, damn Ferry Ann, Voutre, Willingdon. That was the first joke of Willingdon. Tick for tack, he. This is me Belcham in his 12-mile caoutchoucs, wheat, tweet, and stamp forth foremost, footing the camp for the Ginnies. Drink a sip, drank a sup, for he's as sooner buy a Guinness than he'd stale store stout. This is Rucius balls. This is a trench. This is mistletoes. This is cannon fodder with the popey nose after his 100 days indulgence. This is the blessed Tara's witters. This is Ginnies and the bonny bon bluches. This is Napoleons and the rowdy houses. This is the Willingdon by the splinters of cork, order fire. Tonnerre, bull's ear, play. This is camelry. This is Fludens. This is the Sulpharines in action. This is their Mobley. This is Bannockburns. Almighty God, are this Toulouse? This is Willingdon cry, broom, broom, come broom. This is Ginny's cry, underwater, goat strip Finlams. This is Ginny's running away to their Oosterlitz down a bunker shields, with a nip, nippy nip, and a trip, trippy trip so airy. For their hearts right there, tip. This is me Belcham's thank you, silver plate, for kitchen the crepes in the cool of his canister. Pour the pay. This is the Bismarck of the Marathon Mary of the Ginnies they left behind them. This is a Willingdon, Branlish his same armorial telescope, Sophie Kipo for his royal diversion on the Rinaway Ginnies, Gambarista de la Porca, Dalaveras Fimieras. This is the pitiest of the Lapuliums, Toffee Thief, that spy on the Willingdon from his big white horse, the Cape and Hope. Stonewall Willingdon is an old Maxi Montremeny. Lapuliums is nice hung bushlers. This is Hyena Hennessy laughing aloud at the Willingdon. This is Lipstick Dooley krieging the funk from the Hennessy. This is the Hindu, Shimar Shin, between the Dooley boy and the Hennessy. Tip. This is the wixy old Willingdon picket up the half of the three-foiled hat of Lapuliums from out of the bloodle filth. This is the Hindu waxing rainy mad for a bum shoe. This is the Willingdon hanking the half of the hat of Lapuliums up the tail on the buck side of his big white horse. Tip. That was the last joke of Willingdon. Hit, hit, hit. This is the same white horse of the Willingdon, Culpenhelp, waggling his tailor scrup with the half of a hat of Lapuliums to insult on the Hindu seaboy. Nay, nay, nay. Bullsrag, foul. This is the seaboy, Madras Hatteras, up jump and pump him, cried to the Willingdon. Up, Puckaroo, Pucker, you're up. This is the Willingdon, born stable gentleman, tinders his maxbotch to the Kersigan shimmer shin. But sucker you stead. This is a do for him seaboy, blow the whole of the half of the hat of Lapuliums off of the top of the tail and the back of his big white horse. Tip. Bullseye, game. How Copenhagen ended. This way the museum. Mind your boots going out. Phew. What a warm time we were in there. But how killing is here the hereabouts. We know where she lives, but you mustn't tell anyone for the lamp of a jig o' lantern. It's a candle little house of a month and one windies, down a down, high down a down, and numbered quaintly mine, and such reasonable weather too. The vagrant winds a waltz around the Piltdowns, and in every blasted nolly rock, if you can spot 50, I spy 4 more. There's that gnarly birdie gathering. I run a little, do a little, pray a little, pour a little, wipe a little, kicks a little, sever a little, eat a little, whine a little, ken a little, help a little, pelf a little, gnarly bird. A very tableland of bleak-barred fields. Under his 7 Rothschilds lies one lumproar, his glaive to side him, scud untorsed. Our pigeons pair are flown for Northcliffs. The 3 of crows have flapped it southernly, cracking of debacle to the quarters of that sky whence tributes answer. Well, 'tis well. She never comes out when Thon's on shower, or when Thon's flash with his Nixie girls, or when Thon's blowing boom cracks down the gales of Thon. No, Nubu, no. Nebulous on you live. Her would be too muchy afraid of bear me leg and bind me rolling eyes and all the deed and the woe. Fee fo fum. She just does hopes till byes will be byes. Here, and it goes on to appear now, she comes. A peace fugle, a parity spurred, a perry pot mother, a pringle pick in the island skippy with pee-wee and powwows and beggy-baggy on her bicky-backy, and a flick-flask, fleck-flinging, its pixie-lighting pacts, humor bows, picking here, pecking there, pussy, plunder pussy. But it's the armitudes tonight, milito pucos, and to morn we wish for a muddy kissmans to the minutia workers, and there's to be gorge-ups truce for happiness childer everywhere. Come nebo me, and sing the day we sally bright. She's burrowed the coacher's headlight, the better to pry. Who goes cute goes shuckerer, and shoes a roon, and all spoiled goods go into her knapsack, cartridges and rattling buttons, nappy spatties, and flasks of all nations, clavicures and scapulars, maps, keys, and wood piles of hay pennies and moodlet brooches with blood-stained breeks in 'em, Boston night garters and masses of shoe sets, and nickely knacks, and fodderall Michael, and a lugly parson of cates, and howitzer much ears, and midgers, and maggots, ills and ells with lofts of toffs, and plurs of bells, and the last sigh that come from the heart, bucklead, and the fairest sin the sun saw, that's Kirk, with kiss, kiss, Chris, cross, kiss, cross, unto lives' end, Slán. How beautiful and how true to wife of her, when strangely forbidden, to steal our historic presence from the past post-propheticals, so as to will make us all lordy heirs and lady maidenses of a pretty nice kettle of fruit. She is living in our midst of debt, and laughing through all plores for us. Her birth is uncontrollable. With an apron for her mask, and her sabots kicking arias, so sair, so sully. If yous ask me, and I sack you, how, gricks may rise and trousers fall, there being two suits for every picture. For in the byways of high improvidence, that what makes life worth leaving, and the world's a cell for sitters to sit in. Let young women run away with the story, and let young men talk smooth behind the butler's back. She knows her night's duty while Luntum sleeps. Did you save any tin? Says he. Did I what? With a grin, says she. And we all like a merry Dan because she is mercenary. Though the length of the land lies under liquidation, flute, and there's ne'er a hairbrow nor an eye bush on this glabrous face of hair-shoved water welter, she'll loan a Vesta and hire some peat and search the shores her cockles to heat, and she'll do all a turf woman can to piff the business on. Puff, to puff the blaziness on. Puff, puff. And even if Humpty shall fall, frumpty times as awkward again in the Baird's boozaloom of all our grand remonstrancers, there'll be eggs for the breckers come to morning, sunny side up with care. So true is it that there wears a turnover, the tay is wet too, and when you think you catch sight of a hind, make sure but you're cocked by a hen. Then as she is on her behaviorite job of acquaintance bandy, fruiting for firstlings and taking her tithe, we may take a review of the two mounds to see nothing of the himples, here as at elsewhere, by sixes and sevens, like so many Hegels and Colleens, sitting around, scent breeched and some Patrick, in their swish-a-wish satins and their taffy-taffy tights, playing Wharton's Folly at a tree party on the Planko in the park. Stand up, Mickos, make straight for Minnas, by order Nicholas Proud. We may see and hear nothing if we choose of the short-legged Bergens of Cork Hill, or the Bergamores of Arbor Hill, or the Bergamballs of Summerhill, or the Bergensellies of Misery Hill, or the country-bossed Bergonies of Constitution Hill, though every crowd has its several tones, and every trade has its clever mechanics, and each harmonical has a point of its own. Olaf's on the rise, and Ivor's on the lift, and Citric's place between them. But all they are, all they're scraping along to sneeze out a likelihood that will solve and salve life's robulus rebus, hopping round his middle like kippers on a griddle, oh, as he lays dormant from the macroburg of Huldhard to the microburg of Puy de Poudre. Behold the sound of Irish sense. Really? Here English might be seen. Royally? 1 sovereign pund to Petery pence. Regally? The silence speaks the scene. Fake. So this is Dublin. Hush, caution, Echoland. How charmingly exquisite. It reminds you of the outwashed and gravure that we used to be blurring on the blotch wall of his encamped house. Used they? I am sure that tiring chabble shoveler with the musical chocolate box, Myrie Mitchell, is listening. I say, the remains of the outworn grave Ymar where used to be blurred the tolmens of the incubus. Used we? He is only pretending to be stugging at the jubilee harp from a second existed listener, fiery fairly. It is well known. Look for himself and see the old but new. Dublin, WKOO, here by the mausoleum wall. Fim, 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 with a grand fun for all. Fum, 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 fum. 'Tis optophone which ontophanes. List, Wheatstone's magic ire. They will be tuggling forever. They will be listening for Olive. They will be tumbling for over. The harp's discord shall be theirs for olives. Four things, therefore, saith our hereditary Mammon Lugus in his grand old Historiorum, wrote near Boriorum, bluest book in Bale's Annals, F.T. in Difflinarski near Sail Foyle till heather smoke and cloudweed Ayer's Isles sell Paul. And here now they are, the fair of 'em, T. totates, unum, Adar, a bulbin boss surmounted upon an alderman, aye, duum, nizam, a shoe on a pair old wobbin, ho, triam, Tammuz, an auburn maid, O'Brien a bride, to be desarted, a dear, quodlibus, marchus van, a pen no weightier nor a pole post, and so, and all, sucketh. So how idlers win turning pages on pages as innocents with Anaclete play Popeye Antipop, the leaves of the living in the book of the deeds, annals of themselves, timing the cycles of events grand and national, bring facile-wise to pass how. 1132 A.D. Men like to ants or emmets wandern upon a groot-wide whale-fisk which lay in a runnel, blubby wares up at Oblanium, 566 A.D. On Ballfire's night of this year, after deluge, a crone that had a wicked kish for to hail dead turves from the bog, looked under the blay of her kish as she ran for to satisfy her curiosity, and be me soul, but she found herself sackful of swart goody quickenshoon, and small elegant brogues, so rich in sweat, blurry works at Hurdlesford, silent. 566 A.D. At this time it fell out that brazen-locked damsel grieved, sobrala solus, because that Papet, her minion, was ravished to her by the ogre Propius Pius, bloody wars in Balioclea Bali. 1132 A.D. 2 sons at an hour are born until a good man and his hag. These sons called themselves Catty and Primus. Primus was a santryman and drilled all decent people. Catty went to Winehouse and wrote a piece of farce. Bloody words for Dublin. Somewhere, apparently, is the Gin-and-Go gap between Antediluvius and Anno-Dominant. The copyist must have fled with his scroll. The Billy Flood rose, or an elk charged him, or the Sultrap Worldwright from the Excelsimost Empyrean, bolt in some, earth spake, or the Daneman Gallus banged Pan the bloody Durin. A scribicide then, and there is let off under Old's code with some fine covered by 6 marks or 9 pins and metalmen, for the sake of his labors dross. Well, it will be only now and again in our rear or era, as an upshoot of military and civil engagements, that a ginecure was let on the scaffold for taking that same fine sum covertly by meddlement with the drawers of his neighbor's safe. Now, after all that far-fetched and peregrine or dignant or clear lift, we are the ears, eyes of the darkness from the tome of Liber Lividus, and how peaceably irenical all dimmering dunes and glomering glades self-stretches afore us our Friedland's plain. Lean neath stone pine the pastor lies with his crook. Young pricket by pricket's sister nibbleth on returned viridities. A maid, her rocking grasses, the herb trinity shams lowliness. Sky up is of ever gray. Thus too, for donkey's years, since the bouts of he-bear and Harriman, the cornflowers have been staying at Ballymun. The dusk rose has choosed out Goatstown's hedges. Tulips have pressed together 'em by sweet rush. townland of twined delights. The white thorn and the red thorn have fairy guide the May valleys of Knockmaroon. And though for rings round them, during a chiliad of perihelligangs, the Formorians have brittled the ruth of the Danes, and the oxman has been pestered by the firebugs, and the joints have thrown up jerry-building to the Kevinses, and little on the green is child's father to the city. Year, year, and laughed ears. These pack-sealing buttonholes have quadrilled across the centuries, and whiff now waft to us, fresh and made of all smiles, as on the eve of Killalhoo. The babblers with their tongas vain have been, confusion hold them. They were and went, thinking thugs were, and song-toms were, and comely norgals were, and polyfool fiancies. Men have thawed, clerks have surhummed, the blonde has sought of the brune, else kill'st thou may mean carry piggy, and the dunkle dames have countered with the hellish fellows, who ails tongue cadeau, a space of dumb bills silly, and they fell upon one another, and themselves they have fallen, and still now a nights and by nights of yore do all bold floras of the field to their shy fawn lovers say only, call me ere I wilt to thee, and but a little later, pluck me whilst I blush. Well may they wilt, marry, and profusedly blush betroth, for that saying is as old as the Howits. Lave a whale a while in a wheelbarrow, isn't it the truth I'm telling ye, to have fins and flippers that shimmy and shake, Timmy can, timpter, tempting tam, flippity, flippity, fleepow, hop. In the name of Anam, this Carl and the copy and pelted thongs apart alone with the Joe bigger be he, for shapen his pig-made hogshead shrunk his plod's foot. He hath locked toes, the short shins, and oh, behold, that's pectoral, his mamma muscles most mysterious. It is sleeking nuncheon out of something's brain pan. Me seemeth a dragon man. He is almost on the clep, fief by here, is comstipple Saxon, be it Juniperi or February, Marx or Ailbrill, or the ramping riots of Purios and Frodios. What a quaher sort of a man. It is evident the Mitchin laddie lets we overstep his fire defenses and these crowds of slit-stucked merrick bones, cave. He can perhaps posture us the pillory way to Hercules' pillar. Come on, fool portiful, hosiered women blown monk sewer. Excuse us, Charlie Guy. You tolliday dunsk? You talkative Scoegian? No. You spiggity Anglese? You phonio Saxo? Clear all so. 'Tis a jute. Let us swap hats and excheck a few strong verbs with each other. Yap yazzer the best the bluty creeks. Jude. Utah. Mutt. Muck's pleasured. Jude. Are you Jeff? Mutt. Some hards. Jude. But you are not Jeff Mute. Mutt. No, ho, only an utterer. Jude. Whoa? What is the matter with you? Mutt. I became a stummer. Jude. What a horrible thing to be caused. How mutt? Mutt. Put the bottle, third. Jude. Whose pottle? Wherein? Mutt. The ings of dung tardif were used ought to be he. Jude. You that side your voice are almost inedible to me. Become a bitskin more wiseable, as if I were you. Mutt. Has a tendency? Hooroo, boom, usurp, I tremble from wrath in mine minds when I remember in Jude, one eye gone black. Bisons is bisons. Let me for all your hesitancy cross your qualm with trink guilt. Here, have sylvan coin, a piece of oak. Guineas is good for you. Mutt. Louis, Louis, how wouldn't I not know it, the intelligible great cloak of cedric silky shag, cade, mealy, faulty rises for a one dablet bar. Old grizzly, growsly, he was poached on in that tentacle spot. Here, where the liveries monomark, there where the misers Mooney, Finnegan Pass, shoot. Simply because, as Tacitus pretells, our wrong story shortener, he dumptied the whole barrow of rubbages onto soil here. Mutt. Just how a puddin' stone in at the brook cells by a river pool. Shoot. Lord almarshy, we'd wad for a Norse like? Mutt. Sumular with a bull on Clomtarf. Rooks rorum rex room. I could snore to him of the spumy horn with his woolsy side in, by the neck I am suttin' on, did Brian D. of Lynn. Jute, boiled, doiled, and raw honey on me when I can burly forstand a word from Stirk to Finnick in such a patois as your Rotterdam rotter. Unheard of, and unseen. Good after meal. See you doomed. Mutt, quite a gream. Bus of a sec. Walk a dun blink roundward this albute isle, and you'll ski how old ye plain of my elders, Humphrey and ours, where one to whale Wimbro to peewee o'er the saltings, where will by city by law of Isman, where by a draught of seniority iced flow was from his inn the beginning, to whose finish they're punct. Let ere him remember, mere midge two races, sweet and brack, marthering rue, hither, cracking eastwards, they are insurgents, hence, cool at ebb, they requiesce. Countlessness of live stories have nether fallen by this plage, flick as flowflakes, litters from aloft, like a waste wizard all of worlds. Now are all tombed to the mound, ises to idges, earth from earth. Pride, O pride, thy prize. Jude. Stench. Mutt. Fiat, fuit, here and under Lythy. Large by the small, and every night life also, the strange Babylon, the great grand hotel, with tittle house, Alpan Earwig, drucken on ild, like as equal to an equal in this sound cemetery, which is Liebe's love. Jute. Smord. Mutt. Meldon lies, by the fair swave behaughted, despond sung, and than a cestrous mound have swallowed them all. This arth of years is not save brick dust, and being humus the same returns. He who runs may read it on all fours. Aucastle, Nauquestle, Trecastle, crumbling, sell me sooth the fair for humbling. Humbloody fair, but speak it also siftly, Moulder, be in your wished. Jute. Wished. Mutt. The giant forficules with Amni the Fay. Jute. How? Mutt. Here is Vice King's grave. Jute. What? Mutt. Are you a stone-aged, Jute? Jute. I am thunderstruck, Thingmud. Stoop. If you are abcad-minded to this Claybrook, what curios of signs, please stoop in this aleph bed. Can you read, since we and thou had it out already, its world? It is the same told of all. Many miscegenations on miscegenations. Teakle, they lived and laughed, and loved and left. Forsen, thy kingdom is given to the Medes and Parsons. The Meandertale, a loss and again, of our old Heidenberg in the days when headen clouds walked the earth. In the ignorance that implies impression, that knits knowledge, that finds the name form, that whets the wits that convey contacts that sweeten sensation, that drives desire, that adheres to attachment, that dogs death, that bitches birth, that entails the ensuance of existentiality. But with a rush out of his navel, reaching the reredos of Rambus bottom, a terriculus, vively in view this, queer, and it continues to be quaky. A hatch, a celt, an ear share, the purquose of which is to cassay the earth crust at all of ours, furrow words, backwards, like Yaxen at the turnpat. Here say figurines billycoos arming and mounting, mounting and arming bellicose figurines, see here. Furthork, this little effigy is for a fire thing called a flint for fall, face at the east. Oh, I fay, face at the waist. Ho, you fie, up, whoop, and dump 'em, face to face. When a part-soaked tea does duty for the hollows, we soon grow to use 'em and all for a bit. Here, please to stoop, are silver-hued petite peas of quite a pecuniary interest, in as little as they are the pellets that make the tom-tummies payroll. Right rank Ragnarocks, and with these rocks orangotangos wrangled rough and right go wrong. Wisha, why did the tick is for thorn that stuck in its toil like Thumbfool's traitor thrust for vengeance. What a nice old mess it all makes. A midnight horde of objects. Olives, beets, Kimmels, Dollies, Alfreds, Beaties, Cormac's and Daltons. Owlet's eggs, oh stoop to please, are here, creakish from age and all now quite obsolete. And old Wolsey Wobblewurs, hod worth a wipe of grass. See the snake worms every side. Our Durbin is swarming in snakes. They come to our island from triangular touch theater beyond the wet prairie reared up in the midst of the carrigan of prohibitive palm fruits. But along landed Paddy Whippingham, and his garbage cans catch the creeps of them, pricker than our who's there out of man could quick up for what's that's. Some divide and some the lot, but the tally turns round the same bell fusion. Racketeers and botloggers. Axe on thwax on thrax, axe and wise. One by one, place one, be three, ditto, and one be four. Two nurses one, make a plausible free, and it him behind. Starting off with a big boa and three-legged calvers and ivor-grained jadises with a message in their mouths, and 100 filled unleavened weight of liberum qui to con on we can till all horrors eve. What a Neanderthal tale to unfurl, and with what an end in view of squatter and anti-squatter and post-pro-anti-squatter, to say to us to be every Tim, Nick, and Larry of us sons of the sod, sons, little sons, yea, and lay little sons, when us is not to be every Susis and Sally of us, daughters of Nan, accusative ansire, damn a damn to infinities. True there was in Nilo's Dabos as yet no lumpen paper in the waste and might mountain pen still grown for the Mises to let flee. All was of ancientry. You gave me a boot, signs on it, and I ate the wind. I quizzed you a quid, with for what, and you want to the quad. But the world, mind, is, was, and will be writing its own runes forever, man, on all matters that fall under the ban of our infrarational senses. For the last milk camel, the heart vein throbbing between his eyebrows, has still to moor before the tomb of his cousin Charmian, where his date is tethered by the palm that's hers. But the horn, the drinking, the day of dread are not now. A bone, a pebble, a ramskin. Chip them, chap them, cut them up always, leave them to terracook in the muttering pot. And Guten Morg, with his Cro-Magnon Carter tinting fast, and great primer, must once for omnibus step rubric read out of the WordPress, else is there no virtue more in Alcoharan. For that, the rapt one warns, is what paper is made of, hides and hints and misses and prints, till ye finally, though not yet end-like, meet with the acquaintance of Mr. Typus, Mistress Topy, and all the little type topies, Phil Stup. So you need hardly spell me how every word will be bound over to carry 70 top tipsical readings throughout the book of Dublin's Giant. May his forehead be darkened with mud who would sunder, till Daleth Maho Mahoma, who oped it, closeth thereof the door. Cry not yet. There's many a mile to Nundum, with city maids per man, sir, and the park so dark by candlelight. But look what you have in your hands, self. The movables are scrawling in motions, marching, all of them ago, in pit-pat and zing-zang, for every busy earwig's a bit of a Tory tale to tell. Once upon a time, and two's behind, there led a sleep, and three's among the scrubly beds. And the chicks picked their teeth, and the donkey he began. You can ask your ass if he believes it. And so cutting me only wallops of heels, that one of a wife with faulty barnets, for then was the age when hoops ran high, of a noarch and a chopwife, of a palm full grave and a family of levity, or of golden youths that wanted gelding, or of what the mischief miss made a man do. Mal merry dad he was reverse so gassed by the frisk of her frasks and her pretty perique. May fay, she's la gay, the snaky woman, from that trippiary toe expectung pelic, veil, Valentine eyes, she's the very best Winnie blows nay on good. Flow in, flow an, ho hor, so it's sure it was her, not we. But lay it aisy, gentlemen, we are in rearing of a Norwig, so weeny beeny veeny teeny, come see, het whiz if we newt. Listen, I am doing it, hark, the come and treats, and the larp notes prittle. It was of a night, late, lang time agone, in an old stain eld, when Adam was delvin in his madamine spinning water silts, when mulk mounty naughty man was every bully, and the first leal ribber robber that ever had her anyway everybody to his love-saking eyes, and every Billy lived a love with everybody else. And Jarl Van Hooter has his burnt head high up in his lamp house, laying cold hands on himself. And his two little Jiminies, cousins of Arn, Christopher and Hilary, were kick-a-heeling their dummy on the oilcloth floor of his home rye, castle and earthen house. And be Dartmouth, who come to the keep of his inn, only the niece of his in-law, the prank queen. And the prank queen pulled a rosy one and made her wit fornince the door. And she lit up, and Fireland was ablaze. And spoke she to the door in her petty Perusian, Mark the wans, why do I look like a poss of porter peas? And that was how the skirmishes began. But the door hand worded her grace and Dooch no sow, shut. So her grace o' malice kid-snapped up the Ginny Christopher, and into the shanty westerness she ran. And Jarl Van Hooter warlessed after her with soft dove's gall. Stop, thief! Stop! Come back to my errand! Stop! But she swore it did to him, unlikelihood. And there was a branny whale that same Sabbath night of falling angles somewhere in Ario. And the prank queen went for her 40 years' walk in Turlemon, and she washed the blessings of the love spots off the Jiminy with soap sulliver suddles, and she had her 4 owlers masters for to touch him his tickles, and she converted him to the one sure all good, and he became a looter man. So then she started to rain, and be red Tom, she was back again at Jarl Van Hooter's in a brace of sammers, and the Jiminy with her in her pinafron lace at night at another time. And where did she come but to the bar of his Bristolry? And Jarl Van Hooter had his bare, though bruised heels drowned in his cellar malt, shaking warm hands with himself, and the Jiminy Hilary, and the dummy, in their first infancy, were below on the tear sheet, ringing and coughing like Broder and Hister. And the prank queen nipped a paly one and lit up again, and red cocks flew flackering from the hill combs, and she made her witter before the wicked, saying, Mark the twy, why do I am a look like 2 poss of porter peas? And shut, says the wicked, hand wording her majesty. So her majesty aforethought set down a Jiminy and took up a Jiminy, and all the Lilliput ways to woman's land she rain. And Jarl Van Hooter bleated at her with a loud finnegale, Stop, Dom, stop, come back with my earring, stop. But the prank queen swore I did, am liking it. And there was a wild old granny whale that Laurency night of star shooting somewhere in Aereo. And the prank queen went for her 40 years walk in Turlmean, and she punched the curses of Crumquell with the nail of a top into the jiminy, and she had her 4 larksical monatrix to touch him as tears, and she pervorted him to the one certain all secure, and he became a Christian. So then she started raining, and in a pair of changers, bedomped her, she was back again at Jarl Van Hooter's, and the Larry Hill with her under her abromet. And why would she halt at all, if not by the ward of his mansion home of another nice lace for the 3rd charm? And Jarl Van Hooter had his hurricane hips up to his pantry box, ruminating in his whole 4 stomachs. Dare, oh dare! And the Jiminy totter trees and the dummy were beloved on the watercloth, kissing and spitting and roguing and poguing like knave paltry and naive bride, and in their 2nd infancy. And the prank queen picked a blank and lit out, and the valleys lay twinkling. And she made her wittest in front of the archway of triumph, asking, Mark the tris, why do I am a look alike 3 pots of porter peas? But that was how the skirmishes end up. For like the Campbells a coming with a forklance of lightning, Jarl Van Hooter Boanerges himself, the old terror of the dames, came hip-hop handy-hap out through the pike-opened archway of his 3 shut-in castles, in his broad ginger hat and his civic collar, and his ullabuff hemmed and his bull-bragging Saxon gloves, and his lad-broke breeks and his catgut bandolier, and his furrow-framed penuncular combats like a rud vellin grubleen orangeman in his violet indogination, to the whole length of the strength of his bowman's bill. And he clapped his rude hand to his AC hitch, and he ordered in his thick speech spec for her to shut up, shop, dappy, and the duppy shot the shutter clup. Percodos Coran Baragorlea Grum Minitar Hunter Thermaramaran Hunter Dilla Philatella Tillabullabullamanakanan. And they all drank free. For one man in his armor was a fat match always for any girl's undershorts. And that was the first piece of alliterative poetry in all the flamin, fluty, flatuous world. How Kersey the tailor made a sweet on clothes to the Narwhalian capital. Saw for shalt thou see, between ye and be. The prank queen was to hold her dummyship, and the Jimimies was to keep the peace wave, and Van Hooter was to get the wind up. Thus the hearsomeness of the burgher felicitates the whole of the polis. Oh, Phoenix culprit! Ex nihilo malo comes Nickelmast bonum. Hill, rill, ones and company, billeted, less be proud of, breast high and bestride, only for that these will not breathe upon nor Onasen or Arenian the secretest of their sourcelessness. Quarry silex Humphrey Noanswa, undi gentian festines Livia Noansa, Vulcancap is on him, frowned, adjurient, he would eavesdrip, were it most at hand, were it din of bottles in the far ear. Murk, his veils are darkling. With lips she lispeth to him, all to time of such and such, and so. She, he, she, ho, she, ha, to la. Herr Fluke, if he could bed twigger, impalpabant, he abears. The sound waves are his buffeteers, they tromp him with their tromps. The wave of Rory, and the wave of Hoosht, and the wave of Hord, and the wave of never heed them horse luggers and listen to mean, landlocked by his neighbor mistress and perpetrified in his offsprung, sabes and suckers. The moaning papers could tell him to his face back, the louthly one, whose lobe we are devourers of, how but for his hold halibut, or her to her pooter puff, the lip-a-lip one, whose libe we drink at, how biff for her tiddywink of a windfall, our breed and washer givers. There would not be a holy spire on the town, nor a vestal flouting in the dock, nay, to make plain avowals, nor a you, nor an I, to play cash and novo nilibud by swamp light, nor a tool at all, and nutty hint to the convenience. He dug in and dug out by the skill of his tilth for himself, and all belonging to him, and he sweated his crew beneath his auspice for the living, and he earned his dread, that dragon volant, and he made louse for us, and delivered us to boll weevils, amen, that mighty liberator, Unfru Chicta Uru Wukru. And begad he did our ancestor most worshipful, till he thought of a better one in his widower's house with that blush mantle upon him from ease end to ear's end. And would again could whispering grassies wake him, and may again when the fiery bird Decembers, and will again, if so be sooth by elder to his youngers shall be said, have you wines for my wedding? Did you bring bride and bedding? Will you whoop for my deading is a wake? Usqua vam, Anamacandul, did you drink me doornail? Now be easy, good Mr. Fenimore, sir, and take your leisure like a god on pension, and don't be walking abroad. Sure, you'd only lose yourself in Heliopolis. Now the way roads in Capilavastar are, that winding there after the cavalry, the Northumbrian, and the Phibsborough, and the Watling's raid, and the Bower Moor, and what your fate may be with the foggy dews abroad, meeting some sick old bankrupt, or the Cottrick's donkey with a shoe hanging, clanketa, chanketa, or a slut snoring with an impure infant on a bench. 'Twould turn you against life, so 'twould. And the weather's that mean, too. To part from Devlin is hard, as Nugent knew. To leave the clean tanglesome one lusher than its neighbor in franchisable fields. But let your ghost have no grievance. You're better off, sir, where you are. Prime signed in the full of your dress, blood eagle, waistcoat and all, remembering your shapes and sizes on the pillow of your baby curls, under your sycamore by the Keld water, where the Tories' clay will scare the varmints, and have all you want, pouch, gloves, flask, bricket, kerchief, ring, and umbrella, the whole treasure of the pyre in the land of souls, with Holman and Brian Baroque and Polo Launan and Nobucket Nuzzler and the Genghis Khan, and we'll be coming here, the ombre players, to rake your grave and bringing you presents, won't we, Fenians? And it isn't our spittle we'll stint you of, is it, druids? Not shabty little imagettes, penny dirts and dodge my eyes you buy in the sooty stores, but offerings of the field, Meliodores, that Dr. Faherty, the medicine man, taught to gooden you, poppy pops a passport out, and honey is the holiest thing ever was, hive comb and earwax, the food for glory. Mind you keep the pot, or your nectar cup may yield too light. And some goat's milk, sir, like the maid used to bring you. Your fame is spreading like Basilico's ointment since the Finton Lallers piped you over border, and there's whole households beyond the Bothnians, and they calling names after you. The men here's always talking of you, sitting around on the pig's cheeks under the sacred roof tree, over the bowls of memory, where every hollow holds a hallow, with a pledge till the drings in the salmon house, and admiring to your super shillelagh, where the palm sweat on high is the mark of an emolument. All the toothpicks ever Irenesians chewed on are chips chipped from that battery block. If you were bowed and soiled and let down itself from the owner of the load, it was that patty planters might pack up plenty. And when you were undone in every point for the lapse of goddesses, you showed our labor lasses how to free was easy. The game old gun, they do be saying. Skoll, that was a planter for you, a spicer of them all. Begog, but he was, the G.O.G. He's dud and gone now, and we're after finding the source of his sedek, but peace to his great limbs, the Burach, with the last league-long rest of him, while the million-candled eye of Tusker sweeps the Moylian main. There was never a warlord in great Erin's and Bretland, no, nor in all Pike County, like you, they say. No, nor a king, nor an ard king, bung king, sun king, or a hun king, that you could fell an elm's tree 12 urchins couldn't ring round, and hoist high the stone that Liam foiled. Who but a McCullough Moore, the rise of our fortunes, and the fawny man at the funeral to compass our cause? If you was hugglebully itself, and most thrifty like you was taking water still, what all where was your like to lay the cable, or who was the batter could better your grace? McMagnus Macaulay can take you off to the pure perfection, and Leatherbags Reynolds tries your shuffle and cut. But as Hopkins and Hopkins puts it, you were the pale eggy naggy and a kiss to Tilly up. We calls him the journey all bugalofs since he went Jerusalem faring in Arshia Manor. You had a gamier cock than Pete Jaker Martin, and your arch goose of geese stubbed for all angels' day. So may the priest of seven worms and scalding tay boil, Papa Vestre, come never near you as your hair grows wheater besides the liffey that's in heaven. Hep, hep, hurrah there, hero! 7 times thereto we salute you. The whole bag of kits, falcon plumes and jack boots and cloted, is where you flung them that time. Your heart is in the system of the she-wolf, and your crested head is in the tropic of Capron. Your feet are in the cloister of Virgo. Your oh la la is in the region of Cells, and that's as sure as you were born. Your shuck-tick swell, and that there Texas is toll linen. The lonesome roam to Lafayette has ended. Drop in your tracks, babe, be not unrested. The head bottle watcher of the temple of Isid, Totem Kalman, saith, I know thee, mother jar, I know thee, salvation boat, for we have performed upon thee, thou Abram nation, who comest ever without being invoked, whose coming is unknown, all the things which the company of the presenters and of the grammarians of Christpatrick's ordered concerning thee in the matter of the work of thy tombing. How of the shipmen, steep wall? Everything's going on the same, or so it appears to all of us in the old homestead here. Coughings all over the sanctuary beds grant to me Aunt Florenza. The horn for breakfast, one a gong for lunch and dinner chime, as popular as when Billy the First was king and his members met in the diet of man. The shame shop slop in the window, Jacob's letter crackers and Dr. Tipple's Vi cocoa, and the S-word's dissipated soup beside Mother Siegel's syrup. Meat took a drop when Riley Parsons failed. Cold short, but we've plenty of bog in the yard. And barley's up again, be grain to it. The lads is attending school, Nesson's regular, sir, spelling bees' knees with hathatency and turning out tables by mud application, all for the books, and never pegging smashers after Tombo Glass Arse or Timmy the Tosser. 'Tis really the truth. No, isn't it, Roman Patrick's? You were the double-jointed janitor the morning they were delivered, and you'll be grand for yet entirely when the right hand seizes what the love arm knows. Kevin's just a dote with his cherub cheek, chalking oars on walls, and his little lamp and school belt and bag of nicks playing postman's knock round the diggings. And if the seep were milk, you could leave his old by his ide, but law's sake, the devil does be in that nerps of a Jerry sometimes, the tarantan plaid boy, making an cost of income out of the last of his lavings and writing a blue streak over his horse day short. Hetty Jane's a child of Mary. She'll be coming, for they're sure to choose her, in her white of gold with a torch of ivy to rekindle the flame on Felix Day. But Essie Shanahan has let down her skirts. You remember Essie in our Lunas convent? They called her Holly Mary, her lips were so ruddy berry, and Pia de Purebell when the Red Miners riots was on about her. Were I a clerk designate to the Williams Woods manufacturers, I'd poster those powders on every jam in the town. She's making her rip at Lanner's twice nightly, with the tabarine tam-tammers of the whirligig McGee's. Beats the cachucha flat, 'twould dilate your heart to go. Easy now, you decent man, with your knees, and lie quiet and repose your honor's lordship. Hold him here, Ezekiel Irons, and may God strengthen you. It's our warm spirits, boys, he's sporing, Demetrius O'Flanagan, cork that cure for the Clencarties. You swamped enough since Portobello to float the Pomeroy. Fetch me here, Pat Coy, and fetch new you, Pam Yates. Be naither angst of Ramowich. Here's Lumbos, where misty swaddlem, where Mrs. Lodge none, where mysteries pour kind on. Oh, sleepy, so be it. I've an eye on Quirbian and old Kate, and the butter, trust me. She'll do no juggly-wuggly with her war souvenir postcards to help to build me Muriel tippers. I'll trip your traps. Ashore there. And we put on your clock again, sir, for you. Did or didn't we, share stutterers? So you won't be up a stump entirely, nor shed your remnants. The stern wheel's crawling strong. I seen your missus in the hall. Like the Queen of Era, it's herself that's fine, too, don't be talking. Shirk sends, you story ran, Harry chap longer me, Harry chap story ran, grass woman, pletly good trout. Shakes hands. Dibble a hayfork's wrong with her, only her Lexus salig. Bold Tib does be yawning and smirking all hours on the Pollux' woolly round taburet's cushion, watching her sewing a dream together, the tailor's daughter, stitched to her last, or while waiting for winter to fire the enchantment, decoying more nesters to fall down the flue. It's an avalanche that blows no pussy food. If you only were there to explain the meaning, best of men, and talk to her nice of gold and silver, the lips would moisten once again, as when you drove with her to Finderney Fair. What with reins here and ribbons there, all your hands were employed, so she never knew was she on land or at sea, or swooped through the blue like Erwinger's bride. She was flirtsome then, and she's fluttersome yet. She can second a song and adores a scandal when the last post's gone by. Fond of a concertina, and pairs passing when she's had her 40 winks for supper after cane cannon and abley dumpling, and is in her Merlin chair assotted, reading her Evening World, to see as it smarts, full length or swaggers. News, all the news. Death, a leopard, kills fella in Fez. Angry scenes at Stormont. Still a star with her lucky and going aways. Opportunity fair with the China floods. And we hear these rosy rumors. Ding tams he knows all about, same hairy chap. She's seeking her way, a chuckle in and out of their serial story, Les Loves of Selskar et Pervenche, freely adapted to the Norwegians' Viv. There'll be bluebells blowing in salty sepulchres the night she signs her final tear. The end. But that's a world a ways away, till Tracklaw's time. No silver ash or switches for that one. Will flattering candles flare. Anna Stacy's, how are you? Worth her waist in the noblest, says Adams and Sons, the wood-pay actioneers. Her hair's as brown as ever it was, and wavy. Repose you now, fin no more. For be that namesake substitute of a hooky salmon, there's already a big ruddy ram lad at random on the premises of his haunt of the hunged Bortles, as it is told me. Shop illicit, flourishing like a Lord Major, or a buo bay bom, lifting flop a deadlop, a loose, to lee but lifting a bend branch a yard along, aye voy, on the breezy side, for show'em, the height of Brewster's chimney, and as broad below as Phineas Barnum, humping his share of the shothers, is sinking on him, he's such a grandfather, with a pocked wife and pickle that's a flyer fire, and 3 nice little clinkers, 2 twilling bugs and 1 midget pucelle. And either he cursed and recursed and was ever seen doing what your 4-footler saw, or he was never done seeing what you cool pigeons know. Weep the clouds a boon for smile down witnesses. And that'll do now about the fairy he's and the fraily she's. Though is it fibble it to the Zephyroth, and art's a zoom it round her heavens forever. Creator, he has created for his creatured ones a creation. White monothoid, red theatricat, and all the pink prophets coalescing? Very much so. But however 'twas, 'tis sure for one thing, what Sheriff Torah vouched for us, and Map Quick Mix put out, that the man, Hum the Cheapner, Esquire, overseen as we thought him, yet a worthy of the name, came at this time-colored place where we live in our parochial firmament, one tide on another, with a bum rush and a hull of a wherry, the twin turban Dow, the bay for Dibbling, this archipelago's first visit schooner, with a Wicklow pattern waxen wench at her prow for a figurehead, the Dead Sea dugong up-dip dripping from his depths, and has been repreaching himself like a fish mummer these 60 years ever since. He's sheeby by his shide, 80 and aid, growing horish under his turban and changing cane sugar into cellulose starch. Tut it cess to him. As also that, batin the bulky hood he bloats about when inebriated, our old offender was humile, commune, and insectuous from his nature, which you may gauge after the bynames was put under him in lashons of languages, honine sweet and praisers be, and total is aiding him, even hamasim of himashim, that he, sober serious, he is and no counter he, who will be ultimately responsible for the hubbub caused in Edinburgh.